Hello and welcome to the Right Now Oregon Show. I'm your host, Alex McCadden. You can find all episodes of this program, as well as breaking news updates and more great Oregon podcasts and editorials from Beaver State thought leaders online at www.rightnoworegon.com. Thanks for tuning in to today's show. First off, can you introduce yourself and tell us which office you're running for?
I am Angela Plowhead, and I am running for Senate District 10, which is South Salem, West Salem, Monmouth, and Independence.
Now, can you tell us what you do professionally and if you have any public service or political background?
So I started my career as an intelligence analyst in the Air Force. I then went on to complete my doctorate in clinical psychology. I worked at VA as a supervisory psychologist for much of that time, for about 12 years in various capacities, and then went into private practice, which grew into a group practice. I'm a geropsychologist. I see older adults in their homes. And so from there, I became involved in government. I've been an advocate for seniors and people with disabilities for a number of years. So I did that on the Senior Advisory Council in Clackamas, and then in the Salem area, which actually encompasses 5 counties. At that particular one, it's Northwest Senior Disability Services. I also have served on the Marion Water and Soil Conservation Board, first as an associate director and then as an elected director. I'm vice chair of that board. I am also on the Marion County Water Quality Board as well.
Now, can you tell us a little bit more about your life story outside of the work in politics?
I grew up in Texas. Joined the military. My husband and I met in the military. He's from Albany, Oregon. And so when we finished our service, we came back here. And after completing my degree, then we started our family. And so we have a 17-year-old and a 12-year-old. And so they are amazing kids and doing really fun things. My oldest is very much involved in football and loves that and hopes to play in college. And my youngest is involved in Civil Air Patrol, which he really, really loves, and he hopes to have a career in the military.
Now, can you tell me more about your community of Salem?
Salem is an amazing community. We've lived in multiple places in Oregon. We lived initially in Albany, then in Salem. Then we were in Beaverton for a number of years while I was completing my doctorate. And then we went to Tennessee for a year where I did my internship at the Vanderbilt VA Internship Consortium. And then came back. I completed my postdoctoral training at the VA in Portland in palliative care and geropsychology. And during that time, we lived in Jefferson and then in Oregon City, where we lived for about 6 years. And then we moved to Salem not long before my mother came to live with us. And so we are a multi-generational family in our household. And Salem is great for that. It is a very family-friendly community, and there is a lot to do both in the community through festivals and just a number of activities that you can do. And we love the positioning of it because it puts us close to the coast, so we love going over there and doing activities there. And it also puts us close to the mountain, which is where my husband kind of refuels his soul. So we love that. We are very involved in our church. And so I have served either in care home ministry, prayer team, or sort of altar service, or discipleship service for pretty much the entire time we've been there. And then, it really is just a place where you can very easily build community around yourself. And there's a lot to do. There's a lot to be involved in. And if you're someone who loves that, Salem is a great place to do it. It's also the home of our state capital. So it is really nice for people that are politically involved to be able to go in and talk with our legislators and to have an impact on what's coming out of that building. Um, Unfortunately, being in the part of the minority party, there is not um, been as much success as what we would have liked to have seen over the last 40 years. But right now, we are in a really good position to regain 3 seats in the Senate. And with those 3 seats, we can stop every bad bill that's been coming out of the state house. And so that's a really exciting possibility. And the seat that I'm running for happens to be one of those 3 targeted seats, one of the most competitive in our state.
Now, as you talk to residents of Senate District 10, what are you hearing people in the community say they would like the next state senator to focus on in office?
Yeah. So certainly the economy, absolutely. It's on safety and crime and how that has changed our livability. Also, very much on education. We have one of the worst educational outcomes in the entire nation. And I would like to see us do the things that states like Mississippi, who went from being the last in the nation to now being 16th in the nation by focusing on things like literacy, but doing it in such a way that it also held schools, superintendents, school boards, and teachers and students accountable. So there was accountability across the board for the outcomes that students were having. And now they are enjoying a lot of success, and their students are being very competitive, where ours are falling further behind. They just released some data saying that they made very, very small gains, but if you read further into that information, how they achieved those gains, why by was changing the metric. So it's not a real actualized gain that students have had in the last year. It was them moving the metric to make them look better, which I think is just really dishonest and a real disservice to our community and to our students. So those are things that I have definitely heard people talk about that are certainly close and near to my heart. And the other thing that I hear a lot are things that my competitor, Deb Patterson, was actually the sponsor of a bill that closed down Oregon's only incinerator. That the closure of that incinerator immediately raised our healthcare cost because now medical waste is being shipped to Arizona. It immediately made law enforcement's job more difficult and has created stockpiles of drugs and weapons that had been sent to that incinerator for destruction that now have no place to go and are too dangerous to be shipping on our highways. So, Deb, in and of herself, pushed legislation that made it more dangerous for Oregonians to live here, that made it more expensive for Oregonians to live here as far as healthcare costs are concerned, and is creating more pollution because that bill is responsible for a number of different counties now that were utilizing the incinerator, now having to ship via truck their waste all the way to Coffin Butte. And Coffin Butte has its own issues with pollution. There's this product called leche that has been it's been collected and then it gets shipped off to water treatment plants, but there's no way to really treat it. And that is full of forever chemicals that are then released into our rivers, which are sources of drinking water. So that's extremely problematic that in order to prevent a small amount of pollution, which was really very much concentrated to directly around the plant. It wasn't going into neighborhoods. It wasn't going into neighboring areas. It was very small and minute, what they were able to find there in sort of the moss that was around the plant. So she took that little bit and now she's creating more pollution with the vehicles that are having to be trucking all of this waste either to Coffin Butte or to Arizona or to somewhere else. And so our commissioners have worked very hard to try and figure this situation out and come up with a solution. But this is firmly at her doorstep. So there are solutions to it. There working on getting another incinerator built. We actually could utilize more of this. That one incinerator was creating enough energy to keep Woodburn, the city of Woodburn, going. So we had something that was energy producing, that was eliminating waste without putting it into the ground or sacrificing our groundwater or our drinking sources, and replaced it with a really bad solution where it does all of those things. So we can turn that around. We can get other plants in here, and I would very much be an advocate for creating more incinerators. They've been using them in successfully in Europe for a number of years.
Well, I've just got to say, in 5 years of doing this, I don't think I've ever heard something so horrifying. That is awful. Was what
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess she was doing that in the name of climate change, or
Um,
something, trying to reduce carbon emissions, or like that's just awful all around.
yeah. So my understanding is that there was someone that was trying to lay the blame for cancer on the incinerator. There absolutely is no evidence for that. Um, and the the level of pollution that they were emitting was so much smaller than anything that's being emitted right now because of the closure of the incinerator. And it's also raised our um, cost of our waste. So, I mean, just all around, it was just a very bad deal. And I think it's the epitome of what happens right now in the state house, which is we have legislators that take up legislation and push it through in the name of a cause, but they don't have solutions, and they haven't actually analyzed the impact and the cost that it's going to be to our community and to their constituents. And so it really is what's been happening in our state for the last 40 years, where you have ideologues that are getting in there and pushing an agenda without thinking about the consequences that are going to happen. And so, I've been an analyst my entire career, and that's what I do. I look at problems and I find solutions where we don't have a lot of our legislators that are doing that right now.
Well, on a lighter note, who is your favorite Oregon historical figure?
So I go with one of my favorite people, Kevin Mannix. I think he has done some amazing things in the area of safety here in our state. He's, been around Oregon politics for a very long time, and he has been history making in the number of bills that he's pushed through, but also with what he has done for safety in our state. Um, so one of the things that he's taken up right now is to turn around what's happened with the catch and release. And so that was Senate Bill 48, which has been just horrible for our state in terms of community safety. And so he was also the author of I believe it was Measure 11 back in the day. And so, he's done a lot for helping us to turn around safety in the state. And I think he's going to continue to do a lot in that way. And I would love to be able to partner with him in those things. The catch and release bill, which my opponent, Deb Patterson, did sign and voted for, was a bill that has really crippled our law enforcement officers in being able to do their jobs. And so him taking up this issue and putting it on, I believe he has a ballot initiative out right now around that, is something that I think Oregonians need to be aware of. And I hope that they get behind so that we can give our law enforcement the tools that they need to do their jobs.
Now, what would you say are the primary sources of your personal values?
The Bible. I am a Christian, I have very strong faith, and that has been my belief in Christ has been my guiding force and my light throughout my entire adult life. And so I would say every major decision has been in light of that. The other things that I would say absolutely guide who I am and were my military service. So from that, the mottos that really help define who I am and how I live my life are service before self. And if not you, then who? And if not now, then when? And those are two mottos that I absolutely live by. And I think you can ask anyone who really knows me. I don't sit by on the sidelines when I see an issue that is making things worse for the people around me. I've always been an advocate, in whatever role I've played in, whether it's with my kids or with my community, with the work that I do. Advocating for what's right is a guiding force in my life.
All right, next up, it's time for my world famous lightning round. So, first off, ducks or beavers?
So, my husband's family was in Corvallis for a long time, so we're a Beavers family.
All righty.
But
What is
I'll
your
always
favorite?
support the Ducks.
Okay. What is your favorite landmark in Senate District 10?
My favorite landmark. So, luckily, my district goes down State Street, so it is the Capitol. So the Capitol bumps right up against it. So I'm still going to consider that. I'm going to cheat a little bit. That's in my district. Um,
Works for me.
so that would say that's my favorite.
All righty. What is your favorite Oregon beverage?
I am not a beer drinker, but I will say there is um there is a wine that comes out of Willamette Valley Vineyards that is very, very tasty and is a favorite in my house.
What is your favorite Oregon food?
So it would probably hands down be hazelnuts.
Do you have a favorite restaurant in Senate District 10?
Oh, I have so many, so many. We have, so I love French press for their crepes. I love La Hacienda. Um, they do just amazing foods. Chira's is one of my favorites as well. They have some amazing dishes. Oh, there's just so many. There's too many to choose from.
Yeah, Salem does have a great food scene. How can people get in touch with you and learn more about your campaign?
So they can reach me at angelafororegon.com, and they can find me all around the district. And so be watching our social media, which is also Angela or Angela Plowhead for Oregon, just depending. And they can come see me at any of my speaking engagements.
Last up, do you have any final thoughts for our viewers?
Don't leave your ballot on the table. Please vote. We have an amazing opportunity to turn things around here in Oregon this cycle. Don't wait for a presidential election. Get your ballots in every single election. If just the Republicans would get their ballots in, we would have had a Republican governor back in 2022, and we wouldn't be facing some of the things we're facing right now if just 45,000 more Republicans would have voted. And so we absolutely can turn this thing around. I know in my district alone, we only need about 3,400 additional votes, and we can get that seat and we can get it back into Republican hands. It was held by Jackie Winters for 19 years. She was an amazing senator. And so we can have that again. And we can make Oregon a livable place again, where you're not being smothered by taxes. You're not having to advocate or put your kids in private school because the public school system has failed them. You're going to be able to have a more livable environment because we're not having to face so much homelessness or crime if we just get common sense legislators in office. And so we absolutely can do that. We can do it this cycle. We just need you to turn your ballots in, and we'll be visiting you at home and helping you get your ballots in. So definitely reach out to us if you want someone to come help you do that, or if you just want to meet. I'm happy to sit down and have coffee with you, or just come by and say hi.
Thanks again for joining us on this episode of the Right Now Oregon Show. This has been your host, Alex McCadden. You can find all episodes of this program, as well as breaking news updates and more great Oregon podcasts and editorials from Beaver State thought leaders online at rightnoworegon.com. Until next time, Oregon.